We here, y'all.
Damn right.
Reserved, Batman, my boy James. What's up?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rick Simon Show. We streamed a little bit earlier, found some issues, and I'm glad that I managed to get that all worked out and fixed. Because if I wouldn't have, I'd feel very upset doing my next guest an injustice of anything less than 100%. He is an actor.
Yes, sir.
Residing in Los Angeles, California, but from Miami, Florida. Projects that he's been a part of have won multiple awards. He's starred on shows such as Family Time, and I'm sure we'll talk about quite a few of the others. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to one of the best people I know, and we'll obviously talk about that as well. Rubin Mills. Rubin, thank you for indulging me on my crazy fucking ideas and constantly trying to do this shit, man.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Let's let's start by saying I appreciate you coming, being prepared and ready, and not trying to run like I did.
Oh, like you were?
Like I just did, yeah. I totally ran to the back. I like, hey man, you got water? Do you like need to use the restroom? Any of that? And all of a sudden, as it's counting down, we got 60 seconds left before going live. And I'm like, oh great, now I need to pee. And I've never been upset at my wiener before, but
Oh, you haven't?
oh, but I was
You haven't?
no, I wasn't upset with my wiener until just now, where I was like, really? Now you're deciding that you need to go pee? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Never been mad at my wiener as a third party object before, but there we go. I was like, here I am. Are you ready? And then I'm like, fucking it. Oh man.
This guy. I have
Rubin,
some
we were before we went live, we were talking about projects because obviously
Yeah.
I want to formally introduce you.
Okay. Okay.
And the only one you could give me is Family Time, man. So what's you don't know what you worked on?
I do, man. But like I said before, it's not in my forefront, right? I'm not thinking about it every day. I'm not
Right.
constantly asked because, well, a couple of years ago, yeah, I was constantly asked, like, oh, what you been a part of? But that's the thing out here in LA. People want to know when they find out, like, oh, you're an actor. Oh, you act too. It's like, yeah, I'm an actor. Like, what the hell? Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that mean? Right?
All right.
And
Yeah,
then
this
when
show
you
ain't for the kids.
No, so it's like when they ask, "Are you an actor?" You say, "Yeah," right? And then, "Oh, what major productions you been a part of?" I'm like, "What?" It's like that's what everyone gravitates towards. It's like in order for you to be an actor or of that caliber, you have to be a part of like big name projects and stuff like that.
I mean, all right. So you work in front of the camera as an actor, and I'm typically behind it doing production and
I'm both.
logistics and whatnot.
I'm both.
Correct. You do both, but for the sake of this, you're definitely like the as the actor. Like I've noticed that people who find out what shows you've been on, if they're a part, like if you've been a part of her, like
Mhm.
then they want to be your best friends. And that's what it is. It has nothing to do with like the credit of it. It's they want to know what they can get out of you, because if you've been on big shows like that, well then obviously you've interacted with producers and directors and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, which means you may have built a friendship or
Yeah.
relationship with them or whatever. Then like those people can jump in and use that. Like, and it's happened to me multiple times.
Mhm.
I'm not even in front of the camera, and it's
Yeah.
happened to me where, I mentioned like I worked on like Jay Leno's Garage or Kardashians or whatever, and then immediately it's like, oh, I've seen that show, and then that person wants to hit me up, once a week, being like, hey, let's hang out, and it's like, it's
Yeah.
cool, but you had no, like, I could tell very clearly you had no interest. Maybe like we've talked multiple times until you heard what I've done or who I've been a part of.
Mhm.
And I, even to this day, like years ago when I was a touring musician, I played with some pretty big name bands and
Yeah.
and like, went on tour with them and whatever. And to this day, there are people who still find that out. And oh, like that's so, and then they just want to, all they want to do is hang out with you. And it's like, well, why do you want to hang out with me now that you know that, when I've known you for a while and you didn't know that,
Yeah.
So
But I
I feel
think-
like that's the LA mentality.
I was just gonna say that because
It's
I
the LA
think that's how it
mentality.
is
All
out
of
here in
that
LA.
yeah.
It's like people want to know what you do so they can actually be a part of it, right? Or they can actually see what they could get out of you. And I was like, that's not being real. That's not being genuine out
Of
here.
course.
And I just come across a lot of people. I wouldn't say a lot of people, but majority of the people out here, they're looking just to attach themselves to something great
Of course.
and just try to run
Instead
with
of
it.
making something great, they want to be a part of it. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I'm very much that kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm that kind of person on purpose. Like that's
Yeah.
why I like to production coordinate. That's
Mhm.
why I like to produce and all that stuff, is because I'm not the one who has the idea. I'm the one who gets to execute your idea, or I get to help you make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But especially, but definitely when it comes to creative individuals, yeah, they want to latch on to what's already creative, successful, all that.
Mm-hmm. But how do you feel about that? Like, do you, as an individual, when you do encounter individuals like that, it's like, do you actually take them up on their offer, or as hanging out? It's like, is it a one-time thing to see, what it is? It's like, what does that look like?
I'm a very trusting person, unfortunately. I don't know if I really want to put that out there for the world,
Well, we
but
here, y'all.
I'm very much I give everybody one. Benefit of the
Okay.
doubt, a 1, and that's kind of it. And then depending on the first interaction, basically everybody always has 100% of my trust. You can only ever lose it.
Yeah.
So I go in, if I know you, like if I met you, I want to assume the best.
Yeah.
And from there, I have a series of, I mean, I don't want to say they're tests because it makes me sound awful, like a person, but
Yeah.
If said new person was ever like, hey man, like, can I borrow $20? Sure. What's $20? You give them the $20. And then they'll be like, yeah, I'll pay you back next Friday. Great. I'm not going to say anything. And then at that point, come the Friday, if you didn't repay the favor or whatever, at that point, I know what kind of person you are. I know
Yeah.
that I'm never loaning you money again. I'm not
Yeah.
loaning you any stuff because it's not going to come back and you're
Yeah.
not true to your word.
Yeah.
And it's a very small test,
Yeah.
but it is something that I pose on people. So because of that, the answer is yes, but it's a calculated kind of move that I do.
Okay.
And there's a series of other things as well, such as, I always preach to people like, hey man, just be honest with me. Even today, if for example, you were like, hey, I got home, not feeling like podcasting, whatever, great. I can handle the, hey, I'm not feeling it. It's not my thing. I don't want to be a part of it. But when people go, yeah, sure, absolutely, would love to do it, and then cancel, but then you find out that they're not doing what they originally were doing, like they use work as an excuse. Well, who's going to clap back at you about working and trying to survive?
Yeah.
Nobody. Great. But when you find out that that's not the case, again, you can only lose trust. And at
Yeah.
that point, that seed is planted and it'll just grow from there. So yeah, the long story of it is I do give everybody that first chance, regardless
Okay.
if they're what the crew members call starfuckers or not.
Yeah.
But I give everybody at least one, and I've met great people through it. I mean,
Okay.
you know Nectars, who is a regular on ZDork Nerd, and a homie of mine, and not that he was by any means starfucker. Whatever, he is not that person at all. But I'm just saying, like, I hung out with him on set. We were working together. And then there was a day like, hey, man, like, we should hang out. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. It's probably not the best example again, because, again, he's not a star fucker. He's not the best example, but it's one of the few I got.
Yeah. No, that's good, man.
What about you? How do you
I'm the complete James. I'm the complete opposite. I see people. I have a bullshit meter, right? When it comes down to people, and maybe it's prior training or whatever it is, or just growing up in an environment in Miami where it's completely different. Because in Miami, it's like you cannot be friendly whatsoever. People look down upon you if you're friendly, and
That makes a lot of sense when I worked there. That makes so much more sense, because I was the only asshole using my blinker in the entire town. People are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
James, oh James, in Miami or Florida?
I was
Because
in Miami.
okay, because it's a difference now.
Oh, for sure.
It's a difference, but
I mean, it was all over Florida. Don't get me wrong, but
No,
I
man.
started in Miami and then watched it carry elsewhere.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. I'll take that. But no, man, it's like it's completely different. So it's like I was trained not to be so friendly with people because one, people can take advantage of you,
Of course.
right? No matter what. Um, so I don't give people that benefit of the doubt, right? I don't know. Is I just don't give people that benefit of the doubt, whatsoever. Because one, I don't want to hold any grudges, and I don't want to be mad at nobody, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I just don't extend that type of service to just any old body. Like I have to, it has to be multiple interactions with you in order for me to extend some type of service
Gratuity, right?
to you. But just off the bat like that, oh, let's be friends, let's hang out. No, what? No, man.
Hmm.
That's not how it works. Like I have to know who you are somewhat before I actually do that. And I won't it won't even be a one-on-one thing. It has to be like a group thing. Because I have to see how you are in a group setting.
Right. Because then you're getting the true version of people you've been around for a long time. Because
Mm-hmm.
they do say that when you interact with somebody, like for an hour or one day or whatever, you can easily put on the show.
Yeah.
It's as the person keeps going on, they can't keep putting on that same act, and so at
Mm-hmm.
some point the true side starts
Mm-hmm.
slipping out. So, but when you're around people that you've been around forever, or when the other person's around people they've been around forever, they have to be the purest form of themselves. So that makes a lot of sense, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
I wonder. A part of me wonders though, because I'm from Santa Monica based on my birth certificate, but I grew up and my first memories are in Utah.
Okay.
So growing up in that small town kind of vibe that I did, there was a lot of like neighborly love, and I think that maybe that's where I get that whole like generous like um sense of like, yeah, like I'll give you a shot, I'll give you absolutely any chance. But there's somewhere in my DNA the skepticism of don't believe anything anybody says until you can prove it, at least at first.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't get me wrong, man. It's some genuine people out here that really wants to hang out, that really wants to be
Absolutely.
your friend. I wouldn't say it's very rare, but it's like what you stretching for?
I don't know. Something pulled my.
Oh, someone put your hand up like,
There
oh
was a
damn,
ghost
like.
or something.
But nah, man, it's some real genuine people out here. It's you know it when you see it, because you feel it.
Well, it's because you find people who don't necessarily like. I don't know how to say it other than like there's a conversation about them
Yeah.
where they either want to know the successes of you or they want to tell you their successes, but there is a sense of, what would you say, just like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a sense of, I don't know what word I'm looking for, so we'll just leave it blank. There's a sense of blank when somebody is just having a conversation with you and it's very simply like, hey, I just want to know your thoughts. Like tell me your thoughts on the weather. Tell me your thoughts on, whether it's politics, TV, whatever. You start like, I just want to know how you think, because then you can understand whether or not you can mesh with people, rather than let me know your successes to know how I can piggyback or capitalize on that as well.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just my mentality. I'm not saying that that's obviously the answer to anything, but in my experiences, that's what I've recognized.
Okay.
Is if you start asking somebody their success, what have you done? What have you played? Who, did you see this person? It's like, oh, okay, I see what you're asking, rather than like, oh, cool, like where are you from? Where did you grow up? Like, how did you get into all that kind of stuff? That's different. That's education. That's
Yeah.
wanting to know the person, not the career.
Yeah. No, even
Now, were you just raised with that like trust, like with that
trust issues? No,
Not
man.
trust issues, but
But just being aware and
the
conscious
awareness.
of people.
Were you raised with that, or was there something that happened that made you
Environment.
realize?
The environment. Yeah, but in my house, my mom loving, like it was never had to question anything. But it's just like when you in that environment, Miami is a fast life. It's rough. right? You had to learn how to defend yourself at an early age. I'm talking about people trying to jump you, whatever. You got to defend yourself verbally, physically, whatever it is, you know. But you do have people that's out there that's don't have your best interests at heart.
Oh, for sure.
So it's just the environment in which I grew up in. That's it, just the environment.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting because like what I wouldn't give to just like trade places with a person or I mean, trade places with a person who basically just lives an entirely different life other than myself. You know, who was I talking to? I was talking to, I don't remember, but I remember the conversation. And the conversation was simply, oh, it was my tattoo artist. We were talking about like cultures. I've recently like gotten crazy. Like I have become obsessed with hip hop and like the turntables and stuff lately. And I've always had an appreciation for them, but it wasn't until I bought my own digital controller and learned all the little buttons that I went, oh my God, like I know what each of these do, but there's a matter of how fast you can do it. And then, you know, understanding hip hop, it's the beats and finding how to tempo, or you can speed it up. It makes a completely different sound, reversing a track, scratch, all that. So I've fallen so far into that rabbit hole that it's like, as I'm watching like live DJs or interviews or anything like that, it just like, it hits me where I'm like, dude, what I wouldn't give to trade lives. Obviously not, you know, everyone wants to avoid the horrible aspects of, you know, trading lives with somebody,
Of course.
but at the same time,
You
it's
just
like,
want the experience.
but I would love the experience, nothing more than like if I could trade lives with somebody black who grew up in like the 80s when hip hop was like in backyards and the battle DJs and all that, because I didn't get to grow up with any of that. I didn't get to grow up, you know, with music being the soul and the driving force and listening to the lyrics and, you know, whether they were motivational or inspirational or they talked about the real topics of life, you know, things like NWA, you know, speaking up for the first time against like police, like in song and whatnot, like that's revolutionary. But it comes from a sense of like,
But it wasn't from them. You know, it's like even don't want to stop your train of thought.
No.
Even when it comes down to like you gaining more experience, like living like a totally different life. Even when it comes down to like NWA wasn't the first group of men, young men, to actually, you know, talk about, you know, the atrocities that happen within African American neighborhoods. Right, this has been going on since 60s, right? Even before that, you know, we even talk about the 1900s, the late 1800s. You know, we can go all into that, where there was always this stigma with the police department and stuff like that. So it didn't start just with NWA. It's been around.
Of course, and by no means am I saying that they are the end all be all, but I mean, maybe you can, but I don't think that you can deny that there was a shift after all of that, because now it's a popular song on the radio, constantly playing
Of that magnitude.
and it finally, because you know, like me myself, like what drew me to the metal music that I, you know, love is my parents hated it, and I went, great, I'm gonna listen to this even more. So that, you know, now is transcending, like hip hop is now bleeding into, you know, white culture a little bit more, because now it's, you know, fuck the police, like, yeah, absolutely, I bump the hell out of it. I don't relate to it, you know, obviously I don't know that kind of discrimination,
but you have a sense of how the police and
but I know what they're saying. I know exactly what they're saying. I love the music to it. There's just a sense of like, it's totally a hyped song, absolutely. So it brought forefront to it.
Okay.
But I know it's always been around, which is a shame, you know. Fucking, like, I don't get it. I don't get it, and I maybe never will, because it's like, again, diving down this hip hop rabbit hole that I've gotten into, like, I find myself listening to Stevie Wonder songs that I've never listened to before. I've listened to his greatest hits, but I've never listened to the deep cuts. I've never listened to like there's so many, like, Executioners. I you know, I knew who they were, but I didn't know that they had full on, like, they were like battle, you know. And so I've fallen down that rabbit hole. DJ Jazzy Jeff, you know, you've got, I mean, there's so many just absolute icons. I haven't even scratched the surface of like underground guys yet, you know. But back to the original point, which is like, I wish I could just trade lives to like be in the heart of that. So it's like understanding the soul that goes into music, understanding, like being able to relate to that kind of stuff. Cause
Mm-hmm.
I watch these guys when they're playing and DJing, and they just,
This
there's
is
something about when they choose to play that song, like they're feeling it, and you can just,
sense
you
of passion.
appreciate it. It's the passion,
It's a
it's
sense of
the
passion.
groove and the vibe, and
Mm-hmm.
they can change it up. And it's, now I'm learning that, you can't go from 80 beats per minute up to 120. So then when they change it and they want it faster, more party, that's where the scratch comes into to transition it. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, I have just been listening and watching it constantly, and it's just, one, fascinating to watch.
Mhm.
Two, it's great because I find myself like bobbing my head to it. A good transition when it happens. It's like, it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Even
I don't have anything fun like that.
what's the is there so much, man, when it comes down to like that era of music. You talk about the 80s, um the late 80s, early 90s. There's a song from this crew. The song is called My Part of Town.
My Part of Town.
Yeah, My Part of Town. That's the name of this. I'm trying to the group is like literally something crew.
Here, let's see.
Let's look at this.
We
My
can
Part
find
of
it.
Town.
Come on, mouse. Song is called My Part
Of
of.
Town. I think it's called the Tough Crew. I think that's who it
Yep,
is.
Tough Crew right there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Obviously, we can't play it because copyright, but I clicked on. Oh, there we go. Let's see lyrics.
But it's when you want to talk about some scratching, they got some scratching in there, man.
Do
Like,
they?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so fascinated by it. Right now I'm just playing on a DDJ Rev 1, which is
Mhm.
just like a digital controller. And I did see that, like Jazzy Jeff played on it, and I was like, all right, well, I can't get one of those crazy expensive ones, so I'll just get this one, and he's playing on it, so I know that you can do good stuff on it because
Mhm.
he's capable of doing it. But man, there's something about watching that vinyl spin
Just
with the
go
with the
around.
timer on it,
Yeah.
and then knowing that, like, when you see it go to a certain place, you know how to pull it back to the 12 o'clock, and it just makes life easier. And dude, it's a matter of time till I dive down and just
Yeah.
break the bank and do it, because
Yeah.
it is absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to scratch on plastic discs.
No, brother. No, and growing up in Miami, like we scratching wasn't a thing. It was all about bass.
Okay,
That
so
loud.
was scratching a West Coast thing?
No, it
Or-
wasn't. That was East Coast. It was
It
East
was?
Coast.
Okay.
It was East Coast. But what I'm saying is, see, Miami is totally different from every part of the world.
It's kind of like LA
States.
being different than the rest
Like,
of the state.
right,
Yeah.
but when you think about the cities, the huge cities, you think about LA, you think about Miami, you think about New York,
Mhm.
right? Those are the three big hubs, right? But music is totally different, right? From New York making its way down to Miami. Because in Miami, like I said, it was all about bass, the loud, the speakers, it's like that, like we had Luke. Luke was
Luke?
Miami. Luke.
Okay.
Luke Sky.
Is that the artist name?
The look on your
I
like who?
yeah, who?
Luke? Like Doodoo Brown Luke?
Now I gotta Google Doo Brown.
What?
Doo
The
Brown.
major
Luke.
controversy when it came down to lyrics and he had to go to court by what?
I didn't know about that.
Oh my god, man.
Do-
James been under a rock,
Luke.
y'all.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you.
The infamous cover like Two Live Crew. I think my
This
boy.
one?
No, that Luke, that's the artist, yeah. I can you if I play a song from Luke, you know, but we can't play it though.
Let's see, what'd you say they got sued
Luke. Scott, just put
for lyrics?
boys went to court behind that. Not Two Live Crew, just Luke, Uncle Luke.
Uncle Luke? All right, let's take a look at Uncle Luke. Let's see.
Luther Campbell, baby.
Roger Campbell, also known as Luke Skywalker with two Y's.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Luke, and simply Luke. American rapper, promoter, record executive. Let's see.
No, you gotta keep.
Career. Pay for play allegations. No.
I don't think it's that, man.
Personal life. Let's see. Not seeing anything. But his lawsuit.
I would say you.
So you tell me then.
Yeah,
What's
I would say you on Wikipedia, but no, when you talking about like the way you know how like you got the explicit lyrics on, they had to put that on CDs,
of course.
right? Because they were talking about how degrading the music was and how foul the music was, and it was talking about literally banning music like that.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Them boys went to court. Luke went to court behind that, and this was major because just hearing the prosecutors and I think it was the prosecutor. I'm looking at the lady's face right now, but basically they put behind it because of the lyrics. But they won the case.
I mean, that's happened. That's happened a lot of times too, though. Like, I mean, they did it with Marilyn Manson. They did it with Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, Eminem, like, what he was talking about, like, you know, the Columbine shooting. He was talking about like kids taking drugs and whatever. So I mean, I remember when I was growing up, they did it with Eminem, Marilyn Manson. Like they wanted to ban him because of his on stage like grotesque. They also tried to do it with Alice Cooper for the longest time.
I have no idea who that is.
Alice Cooper?
Mm-mm.
You don't know who? See, Ruben's been living under a rock. Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper is like, I want to say motivation behind things like Slipknot and Marilyn Manson. Alice Cooper was like the first shock rock. He would spit blood. He would bring out like a Frankenstein. He'd like decapitate a mannequin on stage or something. He wore, you know, this crazy goth makeup.
No.
See. Well, shit, we can both learn something then. Trying to see if they like have any old photos. These Alice Cooper live, 19. It was. It's not pulling up options. 19. Let's see, 80. I think he was around 1980. Yeah, so he had like the snake and like this black paint, and he wore like obscure clothing, leather pants. Yeah, he did all that shock rock stuff as well.
Yeah, we wasn't. That wasn't music. That wasn't our type of music in the South. Like we didn't know anything about.
So what did you grow up on then? Like specifically?
Like rap, hip hop. That was it. Like it's funny because I remember um, my classmates were talking about country music, and I told them, I said they didn't play country music down in Miami. Like we had R&B, we had soul, we had. That's the type of music that they played on the radio.
Right.
We didn't have like anything
Club
else.
music.
Like all that other stuff was like it was non-existent. Like what is rock music or not country, what, I can't even think of the genre. Like metal rock, like heavy metal, like none of that.
Nada.
No.
Hmm.
None of that, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because like I didn't grow up on that heavy metal rock stuff either. I found it later into my teens for sure, but I was definitely raised on things like Guns N' Roses and the classics and all that. So I can from a different perspective, I can understand like not getting the newest music or anything like that, or even like other you know, coastal music and whatnot. Like I wasn't raised on country either. I didn't really know what it was growing up.
Like our like grandparents basically raised us, right? And whatever your grandparents listen to, your parents listen to. So music from the what it was, the 60s, the 70s. That was it. You want to talk about the Temptations. You want to talk about what's my man, Johnny Taylor. You want to talk about the OJs. You want to talk about Aretha. You want to talk about um like Gladys, like Denise Williams. It's like so many like artists, like soul artists. You want to talk about like the Five Heartbeats and like that's cool. But
Right.
we grew up on like soul music, then soul music transitioned to R&B, and then R&B transitioned to rap, and then hip hop. You know.
So good. It's so good too. If you don't know this, on YouTube, Jazzy Jeff does every week the lunch break, and I think it's like Wednesdays at noon or something like that.
Yeah.
But he does that, and he's been playing like Aretha Franklin. He's been playing Temptations, and like again, I knew who they were, but I knew like the hits, you know, and like oh man, I have just fallen in love with it. The beat, the grooves, hearing the how they're putting the songs together, like
Yeah.
so much fun. Fucking so good.
Yeah. Music, man. Music is amazing.
So let's okay. So growing up in Miami, did you grow up in like I would say like, did you grow up on the in like the middle class of things or on the lower end of things or like what was your upbringing?
We don't know what that is.
Okay, so then how do I ask?
I mean, either you
Like,
had it or you didn't have
was
it.
your
That's
upbringing rough or was it like pretty casual, straightforward? Like
what do you categorize rough? Because if you talking about have I ever missed a meal? No. Did I have um I had clothes on my back, right? Rough? No. I wouldn't. No, like my mom sacrificed a lot. Even like grandparents, they made sure that we had.
okay.
They didn't want us to live the life that they had, so they made sure that we had the things that we had. Of course, it wasn't that we was out here, you know, drowning and swimming in money,
Right.
you know, but we had a sense of we had food on our table. We didn't
You
go
had what
hungry.
you needed. You didn't really have to, you know, starve for much.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So then,
But like far as like if you want to talk about like the areas in which you grew up in, like you got when you talk about Miami, you got the inner cities. You got Overtown, you got Liberty City, you got Little Haiti. You got like you had the projects. The projects was where our grandparents grew up at.
okay.
We saw some of that because we used to be there. Then but by that time my parents had moved out to Carroll City, which they call Miami Gardens now. So
Sounds like a nice area.
they call it Murder Gardens now because that's what when you get rid of the projects, you tear down all the projects, right, and
They
you
have to go
disperse the
somewhere.
people. The people have to go somewhere, right? So you force all of these people out this area where crime was centralized, just in that area, right? And you move all these people, you disperse them. People went down south. They went down to Homestead. They went down to Florida City. People went out to Carroll City, right? And the crime just they went to Opalaka. Crime just been crazy out
Really?
there. Yeah.
Have you seen? Fuck, what is the movie? It's with Ben Affleck. I want to say it's called The Town.
I love The Town.
Is that the movie that's like loosely based on the true story of like it's a town where just
Heist.
crime? It's the heist, but it's like that town is just notorious for
Bank robbers,
robberies
yeah.
and whatever. Is that it?
Mhm.
Dude, that movie's so good.
I
Like,
love The
that's
Town.
and that's kind of what plays through my head
That's
when
one
you're
of
talking
my
about
favorite
this.
movies. I love The Town. That's one of my favorite movies. I love
You,
it.
if you have any interest, we should absolutely do an episode, sit down and watch The Town, and we could provide commentary to it, talk about it. Because I mean, I think it's great. I think I've only seen it once or twice, but I would love to sit down and watch it with a film perspective.
Okay.
Of like, all right, let me watch this based on like as a film being made, the shots and story and all
Yeah.
that. Like, I think that would be
Yeah, no,
fun
that'd
if
be
you have any
dope.
interest, so.
That'd be dope.
So okay, so you grew up in, it was called Miami Gardens,
Carroll City.
Carroll City.
They call it Miami Gardens now.
Now when did they change the name of it?
James. Oh, oh man. I don't know, what, 10 years, 15 years? I
It,
don't know.
all right. So it's been a while, but it was. I mean, you remember the name change
Yeah.
when it happened. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So then, how did a kid who grew up from a town like that, around that kind of music, you said that you were kind of raised to, obviously watch your back and protect yourselves and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. So where did the dream to move to Los Angeles and become an actor come into play? I
Man,
mean,
that
you're
was
around you're around the music, you're around, clubs and all that stuff. So
acting was never a thing for me. It was, as everyone say, you were taught to go to school, get good grades, go to college,
mhm.
get a degree. After you get your degree, you get a high paying job. That's the life. And
Yeah.
I did all of that, right? And it was when I was working in Texas. I left Miami in 2012 for a job in Texas. And I was in Texas for 4.5 years. It was, I just knew I wanted more out of life, right? And I know that when I used to go into work, I used to tell myself, this not for me. It's not for me. Now, mind you, we were getting paid. I walked away from six figures. I walked away from security.
What the fuck were you doing?
I walked away from that stuff, right? And I just knew it was more to life than me waking up every morning to go do a job that I didn't feel satisfied with. And it was during that time I remember my sister, she for Christmas, she bought me a book. And I used to tell people all the time, I can read, but I don't want to read. That's ignorance. That ignorance, right?
Right.
And the book was Rich Dad Poor Dad. But before, I remember like maybe right before I left Miami, I had just graduated college with a degree, and I was literally scraping trying to find a job. Like literally trying to find a job.
Mhm.
Couldn't find a job. I was working odd jobs.
What'd you go to school for? Like,
Business geography,
business geography?
was
Where'd you go to school?
University of Florida.
Okay.
I'm a Gator, but I'm a Hurricane at heart. What was I saying, man?
You said you were scraping for a job out of school.
But why was I saying that? It was
Because I was asking,
Oh,
how did that
oh.
kid from Florida want to come here and be an actor?
right. So it's pertaining to the book, right? But prior to that, she was trying to get me to read a book, and the book was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I was like, no, this this ain't gonna work. So years later, fast forward, when I actually got that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, for Christmas, I remember just opening up the book and reading it, and that book blew my mind. And right then and there, I started my self help journey. I was getting myself right mentally, physically, because I wanted more out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, it actually helped me purchase more books, like The Alchemist. Um, I went and got my own Rich Dad Poor Dad. Um, it was How to Win Friends and what's the book? How to Win Friends and Influence People, or how to something like that.
Okay.
So many different books was being placed. I was buying books that was helping me during that time. And I remember going into work one day and I was like, nah, this ain't for me. And I remember it's funny, we was talking about NWA earlier, right? So when I think 2015, when the movie came out, was it 2015, 2014? It had to be 2015.
There's two movies, right? Isn't there like two movies around like the same thing? Like they're Straight Outta Compton, which I think
That's
is
straight. That's what it was.
The new one, right?
Right. It was Straight Outta Compton that came out
One,
in
where
2015.
Ice Cube's son plays Ice Cube and looks
Exactly like him.
Fucking like him.
Yeah, it was that one, James. It was that one, and I had this experience in a movie theater, and that experience basically was a voice was telling me that, hey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this.
Mhm.
But I had to turn. It's like who was behind me? Nobody was behind me. Nobody was sitting next to me. It was just his voice going off in my head. And then in order for me to set the voice up, I just had to say okay. And when I said okay, I was like, it was a rush of emotions. like that overtook me. It's like
Mhm.
this warm feeling, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" Right. So I remember leaving the movie theater, and it was a clear sky, and I looked up, and I said, "Okay, God, give me everything that I need, tangible and intangible, to pursue my dreams." What my dreams were at that time, James, I had no idea, man. I had no idea what it was, but I knew I liked the fashion. I knew I liked the biker jackets. I knew I liked the tailor suits. I knew I liked it. I knew I liked it. That
Rube,
stuff.
I'm gonna fucking tell you right now.
What?
The few times that I've harassed you into going to my little gothic nightclub, you wear like these boots or the black jeans with the holes in them or that jacket, like motherfucker, you start dressing like Lenny Kravitz, and I promise you, like this house will just be drowning in women. Dude, I don't know what it is, but like when you have that rock like look to you, it fucking like I'm straight, but I might not be because every
Oh,
time
here you go.
because every time I see, I'm like, God damn, fucking Rubin. Oh, and I'm not the only one. You can ask Sage. She'll back me up.
Oh, Sage. I love Sage. I love
She'll
her.
back me up.
I love Sage.
I gotta get her poster framed so I can hang it up properly.
But I
on the
thought you
wall.
did though. What happened to
No,
it?
that was her gift that I gave to her. So yeah, that was my gift to her.
Okay.
But I want to get that one because I had 2 copies printed, and I just frame it and hang it up here in the studio.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Support the friends' achievements. and
Of
whatnot.
course, man. Of
But,
course.
Oh, look at me.
What happened?
My alarm going off. Me telling you like, oh yeah, let's make sure we silence our phones.
And look at this guy, y'all.
And this
Y'all see
fucking
this
guy.
man? This guy.
This guy.
This guy, man.
All right. So you put it out there. You said, Lord, give me whatever tools and resources I need to
Pursue my dreams.
pursue
Yeah.
your dream. But you didn't know what your dream was.
I didn't know what it
So
was.
what the fuck happened that then you flipped from? So you went from Miami to Texas, making 6 figures and walking away for who knows what fucking reason. Should have at least hung on to those 6 figures for at least a few more years.
Man.
And so what happened that now you transitioned to LA and you came here? Like what clicked?
My sister, my sister called me. I had a dream, and the dream was that I was, I remember having a dream, and the dream vividly was me dressed up in a suit. I had a black suit, tuxedo style, white shirt, black bow tie, black buttons, and there were names on the seat, and I was saying, excuse me," going to my seat, and my mom. I got to my seat and I sat down. My mom was sitting next to me, but when I looked up on the screen, it was me.
Mhm.
I didn't know what that meant. So when I woke up, I was like, "Oh nah, man, something got to give." So I was like, "Okay, this is what I like to do, talking about fashion and everything like that." So one of my sisters called, and mind you, it's 10 of us total kids, but I'm the fourth child.
Okay.
Fourth child, and my sister called me and was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey, I got something to tell you." She was like, "Okay, well, let me go first." And she was like, "Look," she was like, "Look."
Hey, I'm listening. Fuck you. Let me. I'm going first. Most people like, no, you tell me first. No, you tell me first. You tell me. No, like, fuck you. Shut up. Hold on.
Like the oldest kids, they run shit. So you got no choice but to sit your ass down and listen.
Oh, for sure.
But she went first and she said, "Hey, I'm writing a book, and I want you to be on the cover." Now, mind you, James, I never had a photo shoot, never done a photo, never did anything.
How old were you at this time?
25.
25. Okay. And you're still in Texas.
Still in Texas.
Okay.
This was on my way out. I was on my way out. I didn't know it at the time.
So you had the dream, realized like, all right.
It wasn't acting. It wasn't, but it was, like I said.
It was the name on the seat and you on the screen. And,
but that was it.
Like
that sparked my juices to flow to actually think about, well, I like fashion.
So then you called to talk to your sister about that dream.
Right.
And then she said, "I'm going first."
And the first was, "Hey, I'm writing a book, but I want you to be on the cover." I was like, wow, it's funny that you say that because it's just like, look, when you come home to Miami, and which I went home, it wasn't often. I maybe went home maybe twice a year. For my grandmother's birthday, which is in October, and my mom maybe, or something that happened in between.
Mhm.
So she was like, "I set you up a photo shoot, right?" And she was like, "I know you never had one before, but I set you up a photo shoot." And then she said, "You know what? You should take some acting classes. I know an acting coach in Miami." I'm like, "Acting? What?" I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." Right? And so she was like, "What you got to say?" She said, "What did you want to tell me?" And I was like, "Well, I had a dream. I had a dream, and
I appreciate you trying to point me in a successful direction. Let me tell you about my dream.
right. Told her about the dream, and she was like, "Oh, okay, great." So all of this stuff goes hand in hand. So when you come home, right, and you want to do your fashion, that can be a part of the photo shoot for my book. And I was like, "All right, cool." James, I went home. This was August. I remember like yesterday because the movie came out in August. Straight Outta Compton came out in August of 2015.
Mm-hmm. Did it?
Had to, bro.
Is it that long
bro,
ago?
I left Texas that April, the following April. So I had to be doing that time. Everything happened fast.
It feels like it was so like close ago. Great. I can spell.
You could spell. You got this.
Images. Let's see.
You want to type the movie?
Right there. 2015. Yeah, you're right.
August of 2015. James, I remember this stuff like it's yesterday, bro.
Damn.
Yeah. So I went home. Long story short, man, like I went home, I had a photo shoot, and the photo shoot, she was like, "Okay, well, I set you up a private session with the acting coach."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "All right, whatever. I'll just take these classes. It's nothing serious." Acting was nowhere on my radar. And it's funny I say this story because they don't even know this, what I'm about to say.
Ooh, the tea.
Oh, God. What happened was I had a session with the coach. Her name is Passion Roosevelt. We call her P. And it was at my grandmother's house, at my grandmother's back den area. And she came with these composition notebooks, pens, pencils. Me, I was already turned off. This is school again? I'm not finna do this.
Yeah.
So I was already turned off, right? So I remember her sitting down, and she said, she gave me an index card and a pen. She said, "Who are you?" I said, "I don't know." Just like, just think about it. I said, "I did. I don't know." And she was like, "Well, if you don't know who you are, how can you differentiate yourself from the character?" I said, "All right." She's going somewhere. So she said, "All right, don't worry about that." Oh, here's another index card. She said, "I want you to dream, and I want you to dream big, but I don't want you to, don't have no reservations. Don't worry about if somebody told you that you can't have anything because you can have the world if you want it."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "I want you to write down 10 things that you want." And I wrote those 10 things down. She said she told me
Do
to
you
read
remember
it.
any of those 10 things?
Bro, I got to know, but I still got the index cards and everything from that.
Yeah.
I do. I still have everything, man.
You have to
'Cause
bust those out one day. Go down memory lane.
yeah, for real. No, for real. But anyway, let's get to the juice of it.
Yeah.
So she wrote a monologue for me. Now, mind you, I'm on vacation, right? I'm in Miami for like a week and a half vacation, and I read it twice with her. I maybe read it again that evening. The next day, read it right before we got there. She made me read it again with her. So she was asking me, and the monologue was like a page, bro, like a page and a half or something like that. So she was asking me, do I know the gist of the monologue? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so she was like, now tell me. And I told her. And she was like, oh, okay, well, you good. Like that. So she was like, now get up and do it. James. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your reaction was the same. What? You want me to get up and do what? She was like, Rubin, that same reaction, she caught it. She was like, look, you just told me that
You know it.
you
Yeah.
know it. You know the emotions that you're supposed to portray. You know everything. Now get up and do it. James, I'm nowhere near as confident as I am now. Like back then I was trash. Like confidence was not acting, no.
Right.
No. But anyway, I got up, I did it. And she when I was done, she was like, "Okay, good." Like that. So, she was like, "How do you feel?" And I wanted to say like shit. Like, man, I can't act. You know, that was this whole thing like that.
You know I'm new here, right?
Right. And she was like, "Okay." And I told her how I felt. I was like, I could have did this, I could have said this. And she was like, "Oh, that's really good for you to have that type of perception." And I was like, "All right." And she was like, "How do you feel now?" And I was like, "I feel much better now." She said, "Now get up and do it again. And this time I'm going to record you."
And you melt down again.
Total meltdown, bro. Like slid down in my chair, everything, bro. Total meltdown. And I was like, "Nah, man, this ain't life right now." I said, "I don't know what my sister got me into, but this is trash right now." And I gave her like this long stare. And she was like, she had this look in her eye like, "You can do this. Just get up and do it." And I got up. I walked out of the door, came into the door. She was recording, went through the whole piece, beginning, middle, end. And I can see when I got towards the end, she was like, she stood up and like she had like this expression on her face. She was excited, like egging me on, like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And when I was done, she was like, "That's how you do that. That's what I'm talking about." That like encouraging me, like she was hyped.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Damn, lady, like calm down." Like that's me, and it like internalize it, like, "Damn, lady, calm down," like that. And she said, "Good, okay, well, I'm going to post it again." Another meltdown. I'm not the type of guy.
Every step of this, she's just like,
Like-
surprise, motherfucker.
Right,
Bet you didn't know that I was going to do this.
right. And James, like, I'm not the type of individual like social media. You know, everyone treats social media like it's a personal diary. People didn't even know.
Personal diary and a protective wall to just talk shit on anybody you don't know.
Basically, and James, I didn't post anything like that. Right, I wasn't doing anything. Right, and she's a playwright and major playwright in Miami.
Mhm.
And she was like, "Look, Ruben, I'm gonna post it, but I'm not going to tag you or whatnot." And she was just opening me up for criticism, constructive criticism. But she was telling me, "Look, some people out there that's just criticize just to criticize, you know, from a negative place. But you have some genuine people out there that really wants the best for you. That they're going to tell you, you know, how they feel
Exactly.
about the performance or whatever it is, or what you can work on to get better." I left there, James, and I remember we had a last session, and this seemed so long. This me talking seems so long.
No, it
Um,
hasn't been that long either.
Our third and last session was Q&A. So she told me to write down as many questions as I can, and she was going to answer the questions the best that she could. Right. So I maybe asked like 2 questions, and she was like, "Okay, well, I got something to tell you." And I was like, "Okay, cool." She was like, "You remember the monologue that we did that I recorded yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah."
When you weren't looking, I stole $5. And again, you were like, "What?" And it started melting down.
Like another meltdown.
Now you have the trust issues. Now you don't trust. No, see, I found. No, I'm kidding. So she said, "I got something to tell you."
And I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "You remember the monologue that we did yesterday?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was like, "Well, a producer, a director reached out to me." I was like, "Okay." He's asking questions, want to know who you are. I was like, "Okay." He was like, "Well, he told me that you fit the description of a character for his play that's going on in Detroit,
Okay.
and he wants you."
Damn, off of one just random, like your sister set this up, drug you into it. This chick took video of you, posted it against your will, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, some guy out of Detroit is requesting for you. I mean, it's pretty damn impressive. I don't think I've ever been requested like that.
I'm getting emotional right now, right? Because no one knew. I sat back in my chair and I swallowed it. I didn't tell my sisters. I didn't tell my mom.
Oh, they still don't know about
They
this?
didn't. They still don't know.
Get the hell out of here. And so what you took it, you had to have.
James, I didn't do. I sat back in my chair and I didn't say a word. That was the time that I said that that was going to be the last time I let an opportunity pass me by. Why? You have to think about this. I had no will to leave my job. That's my security blanket. You mean you want me to drop everything that I have to pursue the uncertainty? I couldn't do that. So I sat back in the chair and I swallowed it. No one knew, only her and I, and she didn't utter a word.
And I mean, damn, man, like an opportunity like that. I mean, I get it. Fucking get it. Like just those moments where you're like, my life would be different from that. And I mean, look, now you're here. Now you're here doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but during that time, James,
So
you have to understand, like, I wasn't walking away from like, this is just a weekend that I'm here with this private coach in Miami as I'm visiting family. Acting was nowhere on my radar. I didn't know anything about acting. Nothing. She told me, look, you have a raw talent. It just needs to be shaped and molded.
mhm.
That's all she said. You have raw talent. But if you're going to pursue it, don't half-ass it. Go and pursue it.
Oh, fuck, are you pursuing it? Because
But things happen alone. This is funny how God began to steer people in alignment with what they want to do, their purpose, right? And I just got my photos back from the photo shoot. They went viral.
what, the most recent one?
During that time.
Oh, during that time. Damn.
So the photos went viral. 2 photos that I posted.
This was the photo shoot that your sister
that she
set up for her book?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I took shots myself, right? The photos went viral on social media, Facebook. It went viral. Before
shit.
viral was a thing, right? They went viral. And I remember one of my friends who I had on a pedestal, right? She reached out to me. And she stated, she said, whenever you out in LA, hit me up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? Right? I'd never been to California, never been out west other than Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, what is she talking about? Like that. You know, so I oh, and then she messed around and sent me a message on Facebook. And I'm like, oh hell no. It's like I said, I had her on a pedestal, right? And I was like, she's not gonna respond to little old me. That was me, my thinking. The voice went off in my head, was like, Rubin, just send the reply to the message. Reply to the message.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, we went to elementary school together, middle school together, high school together, and we went to college together.
Oh shit.
When I responded to her message, she sent me this long ass paragraph.
Hold on. So you went to school your entire life with this person, and you were like, "This person's not gonna respond to me."
But she wasn't. She was my sister's age. She was like my sister's grade and everything like that.
Gotcha.
But I'm not saying a lot.
So she wasn't your friend. You just knew who she was, and you guys traveled or went up grades together. But...
Everyone knew who I was based on my sisters. Older than me.
Got you. Are you the baby?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But they knew who I was based on my sisters.
Okay.
Now, my grade, my friends, they thought I was the only child. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So,
is there a big gap between your younger sisters and older sisters, or why would they think that you were the only child?
I don't know. I don't know.
No. All right.
I can't even answer that. I don't know. But anyway, back to my friend. She wrote me this long paragraph, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and I responded, and she said, "Call me. My number is still the same like the first message. It was a message that she sent me her number in college.
Shit.
The number still was the same. Still was the effing same.
Damn.
She said, call me. My number is still the same. And I was like, what is happening here? So when I did call her, we talked for hours. Like we had so much in common. And she was like, look, you need to come out here to LA like that. And I'm like, my job? They're not gonna approve my leave. All the negative things,
Mm-hmm.
I began to think about.
The I can'ts.
All of them until, like I said, I had the willpower to say, and I remember this was late November, because I just came back from Miami in October for my grandmother's birthday. So this had to be, no, it can't be late November. This had to be like early November, something like that, where I asked my supervisors to if I can get certain amount of days off, right? Because I was looking to go to LA February the following year. So I'm just like, nah, man, you need to go sooner.
Go now, yeah.
Like you need to go sooner while it's hot, like that, whatever it is. And the supervisors gave me the days off. I came out here December 2nd, 2015.
Okay.
I stayed in the hotel. I stayed at the Biltmore downtown.
I don't know if I know that hotel.
I remember I stayed at the Biltmore downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend is an actress.
The one who hit you up.
The one who hit me up is an
Okay.
actress. I remember being in town and she had a gig. She booked a gig on TV. She took me as one of her guests. And it's funny because the pictures populated the other day on Facebook.
Oh shit.
Had the show or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, everything just felt surreal, man. Like everything just aligned. She took me to Richard Lawson's class where I met some amazing people, like-minded people, right, who I didn't know from a can of paint.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Biltmore, they was filming a movie right outside downtown. I look out the window, they was filming a movie. So everything was happening to make me, and LA just felt like this is where I need to be.
Okay.
And when I got back, I wrote my 2 weeks notice for my job.
Oh shit.
But I just didn't date it. I didn't put a date on it.
But you did, and you didn't send it to him.
I didn't send it to him, no, because I didn't put a date on it.
Right. Okay.
Right.
But you wrote it.
But
you
I
sat down.
when
you were
I
like,
came
have to
back
write
on the
this.
5th, well, I think it was the 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe the 6th, one of those days, I wrote my 2 weeks notice. I just didn't put a date on it. Why? It's because I had Invisalign. Braces.
Okay.
And I was supposed to be done. I needed to know when I was going to be done with that.
So you're waiting for your braces to be done
I
before you
was
quit your
not
job.
gonna
I
be
get
flying
you.
back and forth from LA to Southern Texas. James, that was not gonna happen, okay? I was not about to do that.
Southern dental work.
Right. So I wasn't gonna do that, man. So when my told me the thing, he told me the date where I was supposed to be done with my Invisalign. I turned in my 2 weeks notice.
And so how long after you got back, you wrote the letter immediately?
That was December.
So-
I left. I put my 2 weeks notice in. This was late March.
Oh, okay, so just a couple of months. Damn.
I knew then that if I was going to do this, I had to do it, and I couldn't look back. This was my decision that I was making. I didn't tell a soul
That you were gonna do this. I assume your family has to know that you act now, though, right? Okay.
But at the moment, like resigning from my job,
You took the free lesson from your sister, did all that, turned down the opportunity, then it popped up again, and you were like, "What the hell is with this acting thing going on?"
Mhm.
So then okay,
yeah,
then you moved out here and was like, "All right, it's just where it keeps guiding me."
yeah, and I know when I came out here, I wanted to learn as much as I can, but like now looking back, there was this ego. I had an ego that I didn't. Ego was big.
I
Ego,
had mine back in my music
yo,
days. I thought I was such hot shit.
you couldn't tell me nothing. Okay, confidence on 1,000. You know, almost it was almost like I was not looking down on people, but I felt like I was
Hmm.
better than the people. Mentally, right? The things that I wanted, goals wise, or it being goal oriented. I'm having structure in my life and actually really pursuing my dreams and not making excuses and hoppering over like things that I could control. So I felt like I was better than the people that I was in my class, and that
Hmm.
was a nasty character trait to have, basically. But anyway, I came out here learning, and I just stayed in class for like 8 to 10 months. I was in class learning as much as I can until it was time for me to go out there and actually, okay, it was time for you to audition, right? And I remember the first weekend I auditioned, I had maybe 4 auditions. I booked 3 of them.
When did you audition after you moved out? Like, how long were you in classes out here before you finally was like, all right, let me take that?
I got out here April. I got out here day before my birthday. I came here April 21st,
Okay.
right? It wasn't until later that year. Bro, don't make me lie. Which month it was? I don't know. I just knew it was late in the year.
But it was within the year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That same year, that I had 4 auditions. Booked 3 of them. That's when everything began to get real, like really real. Because I was like, oh, this stuff is real. I had booked a play. I think it was I booked a play and I had booked 2 short films. One of them was a lead role in a short film
Okay.
called The Perfect Suspect. Bro, it was then I was like, okay, well, Ruben, you can do this. Like, what are you waiting on?
Right.
Like, you can do this. So I began to like fully attack acting. And I remember that year, that's when I booked this was December when I booked Never Heard, which is on Netflix. Um and I didn't even know that was going to be on Netflix until there was a film festival in 2018
Hmm.
in Miami. And I remember one day just being inundated with calls from people from Miami who was at the film festival. And it's like, oh my God, we see you. I'm like, I'm in LA. You don't see me.
Yeah.
You don't see me. It was like, no, fool. We see you on the screen. I'm like, screen? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I had no idea what they was talking about. And it was like, the movie, the movie, the movie. By that time, they had changed the name of the movie. I didn't know that. They changed the name of the movie.
Okay.
So when
So it was originally called The Perfect Suspect, but
no, that was something totally different.
oh, this is okay. So wait, then what is? I'm sorry. What is this we're talking about? This was
But no, like I said, that weekend when I booked those 3 things, I knew I can do any and everything I set my mind to. I knew it was time to move on, right? And that was, let's just say that was October, right?
okay.
We shot the movie and everything. First time being on set. No one knew that. No one knew it was my first time being on set. No one knew it was my first time leading a short film. No one knew that, right? It wasn't until December when I booked the next thing that, like I said, it was a film, like an actual film, Netflix, like all this stuff. Like I didn't know the magnitude of the film. I just knew that it had some David Banner. It had um oh God, Robin Williams.
Oh, that you were
Uh
in a movie with Robin Williams?
um like Romeo was in there, like Masterpiece Son was in there. There was a Candy from Escape was in there.
What movie is
I
this?
just told you, Never Heard. You not listening, James?
It's called Never Heard?
Yeah. You didn't hear when I said they changed the title of it, so that's how I didn't know what they when it was calling me.
You said they changed the title of it, but I didn't hear the Never Heard part.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, Robin. Talking about Robin. What I said?
You said Robin Williams.
Gibbons. This is what I can't even.
Robin Williams has played Miss Doubtfire.
No, right. What I'm talking about, Robin Givens.
Robin Given. Okay.
Givens.
I don't know who that is.
Mike Tyson, wife.
Got it.
Okay, well, ex-wife, I should say.
It was like Robin Williams.
Yeah, it's like Rubin. What?
You were in a movie with Miss Doubtfire,
Right.
and you're like, no.
May he rest in peace. Such a
for
talent,
real.
boy. That's talent.
Oh man, what I wouldn't give to like
Pick his brain, right?
rewind time and just pick his brain, let him
Mhm.
just go zany, like him and Jim Carrey, man,
Mhm.
just the kings of absolute buffoonery,
Yeah.
and just pure like laughs and like just an untaught cartoon energy,
Yeah.
like the ability to just fucking flail.
Yeah.
But anyway, Robin Gibbons. So you yeah,
It's
book-
Robin Givens. I don't know talking about Robin Williams. What am I talking about?
it
But like I
rhymes.
said, it's like I like that you got my back. You got my back.
I got you.
But like I said, none of that stuff is in the forefront no more because, like James is so much stuff. Like even just talking about this journey is bringing back so many memories and experiences. You know, it wasn't even that long ago. You know, when I came out here, hitting the ground running. You know, with everything, and to get to a certain point where you're constantly going, and that's when I had booked a TV show, Family Time,
Mm-hmm.
with.
So that was one of your first gigs. I mean, you booked the 3 auditions. You had the movie.
I had the movie, then I had Never Heard,
Never
right,
Heard.
and then later came Family Time with
So-
Omar Gooden. With Omar Gooden and Bentley Cow Evans, from the producer from the Martin Show and Jamie Foxx Show.
So is Family Time? Was it within the year that you moved out here, or was this like a
That
year
was.
later?
I want to say that had to be like. No, that had to. I want to say everything began to happen 2018. I think
Okay.
that happened, James. I don't know, 2017, 2018, because I came out 2016. It had to be. I want to say 2018. I'm not sure
Okay.
because I remember we had a showing. I had a showing for it in 2018.
Okay.
I want to say. So yeah, that was the last straw. The TV show was the last straw when I hit a wall of depression. And I can call it depression now because I didn't know what it was,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it got to the point to whereas you just got to be cognizant of your tribe of people who you consider to be within your tribe, people who you consider family. You got to be cognizant of that because those people can turn on you in a heartbeat.
Oh, of course.
And I was so devastated at what happened, I completely shut down. And I began lashing out at the people that I love, people that was close to me, even my teacher. I lashed out at my teacher. You don't do things like that.
Right.
Um,
I've done that a couple of times. Had a couple of those like with employers in the past where it's just like you hit that wall and it you are there for yourself and yourself only. And so anybody who
Yeah.
fucking just interacts with you, just
Mhm.
fuck you, fuck off, and let me survive.
Yeah, basically. So it's like a cry for help that no one picked up on.
Of course.
And I literally had to sit in my own mess during that time, and I had to reevaluate some things. And me walking away from acting was one of them. And I literally, I remember I moved out here to be isolated from everybody else.
Mhm.
Stopped going to acting class. I stopped communicating with the people that I love. I was looking up plane tickets to go to Miami, to go back home.
Damn.
Like I was done.
And this was after what, a year and a half, 2 years worth of work? Okay.
I was done, brother. I was done.
So where did the spark reignite then? Like what what came back so hard? Because I see you work around the house, man. Like, you are doing your own photo shoots. I've helped you read lines before. You are constantly editing. You're filming things. Then you're coming home and you've just helped somebody else read and record and photo shoots and music videos and everything else. So like, where did that all like come back?
My friend, I call her Slim. We was in the same acting class, and she used to come here.
You never went back home to Miami though. You stayed in LA. You walked away from acting for a minute, but you
walked
still
away
stayed in LA
for a long minute. It wasn't until it was when COVID happened that I was trying to get back into acting.
Oh,
Right. But my friend Slim, we was in the same acting class. She would contact me. Hey, I got an audition. Can you help me? I had all the equipment. I had the lights, the stand. She didn't have anything. So she would come here and I would do her tapes with her. And when I picked up the script, but this had to be like months afterwards. Months afterwards where she began to contact me and was asking me to just for help. Can you help me read lines? Can you be my reader? And it was in that moment when I picked up the script. No rehearsal, no nothing. Just told her, let's read it. Instantly got into character just by reading it. And the spark came back. It was like, man, I love this. This is what I love. And I remember over the course of that time, she had 3 auditions. She booked one of them. Then she got to the last round of a major film. Major film and TV show? She got to the last round. They didn't choose her. But it was during that time that she helped me get back into the swing of things. And I remember telling her, and I told her, I said, I said, I thank you. And she's like, Rubin, what? And I was like, you don't understand the time where I was in my life during that time when you was contacting me. And I told her, I was like, you helped me get back into acting because I was about to buy a plane ticket to go back home to Miami. She said, Rubin, what? She said, even if I found out during that time, she said, I wasn't going to let you get on that plane. And I was like, you got to keep those people close. Because she was willing to fight for me to stay here. She was like, Rubin, no, you have too much talent to want to waste away. You just going to go back to Miami and do what? I'll wait. Like that. That's how she was with me. And I was like, you're right. Like, I couldn't go back to Miami to face what? To be who? And like, no, I couldn't do that. Right? Not saying that I'm better than anyone in Miami or my friends or anything like that, but I just knew me going to Miami, I wasn't going to do anything.
Right.
I just was going to fall by the wayside, probably get into some trouble, whatever. I don't know. Something. It wasn't going to be good.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, she helped me get back on track. And during that time, I was like, no, I need structure. I need some type of technique. And I was doing my research over the course of time. And one of my boys was like, well, what are you looking for? You're looking for something to be real. You're looking for authenticity. You're looking to, pull from, I don't know. And I said, look, I'm looking for something real. Give me something authentic. That's what I need. He was like, well, you need Meisner. I was like, Meisner? He was like, yeah, look up Meisner. And I was like, all right, cool. He's like, well, I got a book. Gave me a book. I was like, all right, cool. I started reading the book. I was like, oh no, this is where I need to be. Right. This is the program. This is the technique that I need to be, because I got tired of winging performances. I got tired of being in my head with performances. I got tired of relying on raw talent. I got tired of that, because that can only take you. Yeah, that can only take you so far. Right. And
so I want to hear how far that is taking you. Except for I have drank so much coffee today.
Don't tell me this man got to go to the bathroom.
This man's got to go to the bathroom again.
Oh, y'all, we got to cut, y'all.
Sorry.
Oh, my God.
But this is where it's getting good, because now we're going to find out just exactly how far it's going to take you. So
right.
We will be right back
All right.
after this quick restroom break. So don't go anywhere. More Rick Simon Show coming soon.
Sanford Meisner.
All right.
Uh, so your raw talent could only take you so far.
Yeah.
So then you looked into the Meisner. Is it called the Meisner School?
Uh,
Or what?
Meisner is the name of the gentleman. Sanford Meisner.
Meisner is the
It's the technique called
the
Meisner.
technique.
It's called
Got it.
Meisner.
Okay.
Yeah. A friend of mine's recommended Meisner to me, and I was like, okay, cool. And I was doing my research on Meisner. I was reading a book that I was given, and I found two schools here. One that was in the valley because I didn't want to drive far.
Mhm.
You already know how traffic is
Of
out
course.
here in LA.
It takes 2 hours to get anywhere.
Trash, right? So I was looking for something close, in which they had one in Burbank, and then the other one was in somewhere like Sherman Oaks,
Mhm.
somewhere. It's close. And I was like, okay, cool. But I wanted somebody who was going to give me the authentic Meisner, somebody who actually learned from Meisner, not someone, because I heard so
Just
many
teach it.
stories, right? Because when you get into something, you got to do your research. You spending your money, and it's not cheap.
For sure.
It's not cheap. So
No school is.
at all. So I remember, was this COVID time? Okay, I remember COVID hit. Right, I found the school. I got my interview with the school, and it was doing, I don't know, March, June, I don't know. It was doing COVID. Let's just say the onset of COVID when it happened, and I had my interview. And my interview, and see, this is how you know things are serious, because they want to know how serious you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're not finna waste their time. They don't. I won't
They're
say
not
they
there to teach somebody who's just trying. They want to teach like the next.
because if they want to take your money, they can take your money like all these other scene
sure.
study classes out here that do, and they wanted to know how serious you were.
Mm-hmm.
And James, I remember being on my interview was admissions interview, just was an interview, and it was an hour. Zoom.
Is this the school you're going to now, or is this
No.
This is Sherman Oaks.
No, this is the one that was in Burbank.
In Burbank, got it.
Because I found out, that it was they had a close relationship with Sandy Meisner.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. Well, let me learn from the guys, right? One of the guys there. And I had an interview for an hour, 1 hour. Shit in bricks, bro. Nervous, didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. I just had to just answer the questions truthfully and honestly. And he wanted to know where my head was, basically, and would I commit to 2 years. And I basically told him, yeah. And at the end, I didn't know what was going to happen. I forgot the questions that he was asking. It was just so much going on,
Mm-hmm.
right? And at the end, he was like, well, Mr. Mills, I would love to have you. And I was like, word? He was like, yeah, I would love to have you. He said the classes are extremely small, and we don't know. He said we're supposed to be starting them soon. Like I said, this is onset of COVID. No one knew. There was a lot of uncertainty all across the way, all across the board. So he was like, well, I'm going to send you an email. And during that time, he was like, well, we waiting for word to open up the studio again. He said, but in the meantime, we're going to do online Zoom, like a on-camera class, basically, where he sends sides and you're treating it like it's an audition. Basically, you're just putting yourself on tape, and he's going to critique it. So I did that. I don't know, a couple months, not even a couple months, a couple weeks, maybe 1 month that we did it for. And during that time, he was like, well, it don't look like we are opening back up anytime soon. And I'm like, here we go again, So it's like, I can't advance, because.
Whatever's trying to stop you.
Right. So all this stuff is happening. And then he came back. They sent an email. No, I kept sending emails like, when class going to start? Like, and then he said, oh, when the vaccines and everything came out, he was like, okay, well, classes are going to start back up. But this time you have to, in order for anybody to be a part of this program, everyone has to take the vaccine. And I'm like, all right, I don't know yet. Let me just sit back like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know. So they stopped emailing me. And I was like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I'm just sitting around, not doing nothing,
Yeah.
not even doing auditions, having an agent and manager. They probably gonna watch this, but whatever. Um, and I was just sitting around until something said it was months later when I looked back at the school and I saw that there was a second year program that they was willing to accept students from. And I was like, who's this school? The school I'm at now, right?
The one in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica, right? And I was like, who is this school that they're willing to accept second year students? I'm like, oh, they got to be great like that, right? Because the way that they do Meisner is a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I'm Meisner trained. But if you're really Meisner trained, they're going to test you. They'll put you on the spot.
Now, what is it that makes the Meisner, like in a nutshell, like what is the Meisner method? Like what is
Just like you and I having a conversation right now, we've
Okay.
been moment to moment. You're listening to me and I'm waiting to respond
mm-hmm.
and vice versa. We've been authentic, we've been real in that moment. That's what Meisner is. Basically, you just being authentic in the moment.
well in an effort to say I'm very ADHD, so
Okay.
me waiting to respond to you is
But no, but
it's not my forte usually, as you know.
No, it's all good. But that's just one aspect of it, right? It's just something that's real, something that's authentic in itself. And they have this technique called repetition
Uh-huh.
where let's say you're blinking. You would say you're blinking. You would and I say you're blinking. So that's the game going back and forth. You just repeating what someone is saying, just on a surface level. You just like a robot. You repeat what they say, but it's different levels to it. You know, where you begin to graduate to having a point of view about what somebody's saying. You just feeding off their behavior. Your job is to take all the focus off yourself and put that 100% on your partner or whoever you're talking to, just to pick up on their behavior.
I know that you've come home a couple of times with those lessons, and we clown around a bit about it or whatever.
Right.
But there's been a couple of times where you came in and you're just like,
I remember.
you're projecting.
Right. And you was like, what?
I'm like, the fuck did you just say to me? You're like, James is frustrated. Not frustrated, but what the fuck are you saying to me? And you're like, James is acting confused. I was like, James is confused. What the fuck is happening right now?
No, that was fun. That was fun. Messing with you was fun, man. It was fun.
It's funny because fuck, what was it? It had to have been maybe like a week ago or something like that. But there was something that happened. I think I might be wrong. I think it was the show Reboot that's on Hulu. It's got Keegan Michael Keel.
Okay.
Keegan Michael Key? Is that his name?
Don't make me lie, but I know you're talking about Akil.
I think it's Keegan Michael Key.
Okay.
Something like that. And then there's Key Peel or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, whichever the tall skinny one who yells D nice, that one.
I love him.
So he's on a show called Reboot with is her name Judy Greer? The girl from Ant-Man, the mom from Ant-Man.
I'm bad with names, James. I gotta see people. I gotta see their face.
So anyway, so there's that guy, and then Johnny Knoxville from Jackass.
Okay.
White hair, he's the host, whatever. So they're all on this show together called Reboot. And it's about actors going back to the sitcom they played in like the 70s or 80s and like rebooting it and whatever. And they're adding new characters, so they're kind of tiffing with the new characters and all this other stuff that's changing. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, on that show, they reference that, like, you're projecting, you're whatever. I think they say it, but yeah,
they're just basically going back and forth.
The show is based on the behind the scenes of this rebooted show that they're now doing.
Okay.
And I again, if I'm not mistaken, it might have been that show. It might not have been. It might have been another one, but they did that. And I was like, I fucking know that. Like, I know exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
And it just, it was funny. I was like, oh, all right. Like, it's a thing.
No, it's pretty cool. The program, their technique, it teaches you a lot about yourself. It makes you be aware of your insecurities, your habits, your tics, whatever it is, and it forces you to address them basically, and to rid them, basically, because those are hindrance in acting.
The classes you're taking in Santa Monica are
Mm-hmm.
those are Meisner
Mm-hmm.
classes? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the only method that you are learning right now or have learned or
Mm-hmm. The only technique
okay.
that is Meisner, being Meisner trained. That's the only thing. Like I've taken scene study classes out here, James. I've taken on camera classes,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, scene study classes where you have, I don't know, up to maybe 15 to 30 students, artists in one class, and everyone is given a scene, and you have to get up in front of the class and do those scenes. Sometimes where you don't even have an opportunity to get up in class to you go into class maybe once a week
Mm-hmm.
and you got to pay monthly. It's like you're not. You have some classes like that,
Right.
But then again, you got some intensive programs that are good, but everything out here is going to cost you
But the classes that you're going once a week, you
twice.
know,
Or the ones that if you talking about in general, or you're
well,
talking about the ones I'm going
I'm
to.
just talking in general.
Okay.
Like the less amount of time you spend at school, the longer the classes are, right? Like how long are the classes you're going to now twice a week? Like 2, 3 hours a piece, 4 hours a
Where
piece,
they are set on the time is 3 hours
3 hours. Yeah.
from 5 to 8.
Yeah.
But we get so much done within those 8 hours. 8 hours. Those 3 hours. We get so much stuff done in that time frame. It's a structure.
Right.
What they do. Like we had to get up for 45 minutes and we had to repeat. Would you get in a circle and like I was messing around with you, like, oh, you're blinking. You're blinking. It's like you had to go through that whole thing for 45 minutes. And then you sit down and we in an area where we have to do activities, where you have to bring something in class that's difficult to do. You have to have a sense of urgency to get it done. And I'm missing one. I can't think off the top of my head. But you have to perform those in class.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got somebody coming in that's trying to connect with you, who can be interrupting you, but their job is to connect, but you have to react off that behavior and still get your activity done within the circumstances in a sense of urgency that you gave yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that, and that's 3 hours in itself.
Yeah.
But we work. The beauty about that is we work. Everyone works every single class, and now our class is small because a lot of people dropped off.
Yeah. They can't hack it and they start disappearing.
Yeah, and some people don't have the money, whatever it is. But this Meisner technique exposes everything in you, and a lot of people they don't want to deal with their whatever.
Yeah. Their vulnerabilities.
They don't want to deal with that. It's frightening to them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So, is the Meisner method? Would it be correct to say that the Meisner method that you're learning is essentially like the same thing Joaquin Phoenix and like Johnny Depp and those, like once they're that character, like it's an embodiment of a completely different character. Like they don't kind of leave that role or that.
I think you're talking about.
Or is that method acting?
I would just say, yeah, you're talking about method because
So method is different than Meisner.
very different.
Okay.
Because I was going to bring up Heath Ledger. I was just watching, Batman. Yes, last night. Was it last night? It was last night. And
Where was my invite?
You wasn't home. You was getting your tattoo done.
That's right.
You wasn't home.
You are correct.
You didn't get home till later.
I think I was home around maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's later.
Dude,
that was later, bro.
That's fair. That's fair. You are usually like in bed roughly around that time.
Yeah, man, because there's so much stuff that I gotta do, and especially like if it's Friday, got to get up and go to work the next day.
At 6 a.m.
6. I got to get up at 5, bro. That stuff is trash.
Oof.
Yeah.
But you were talking. So Heath Ledger, you were watching Dark Knight.
I was watching Dark Knight, and that made me think about method acting, where you have to pull from a certain place and you have to live in it. We live in our circumstances now. They live in their circumstances all day, every day. Sense.
Right. I mean, perfect example is like, I don't know if Jim Carrey is method, but I know for like Man on the Moon, the Andy Kaufman story, That if you haven't seen that, it's phenomenal, and the documentary's just as creepy, not creepy, but just as crazy. But there is a creepy aspect to it. The quick notes on it, and we can get back to what you're recognizing from Heath Ledger. But Jim Carrey, whether he admits it or not, was method for the movie. He took on the role, he lived in it. If he didn't have like the makeup and stuff on for the role, he walked in set with like a paper bag on his head, like real fucking weird. He drove a car around the back lot and like scraped studio walls and wrecked things and whatever, because it was very much how Andy Kaufman was. Andy Kaufman was, for lack of better terms, a comedian. He didn't see himself that way, but he was a comedian, and he just did funny things because it was fucking hilarious to him. He's one of my favorite people. I do it to you all the time when I say the most obscure shit walking through the living room, and I'm just like, Boner Patrol, show me your hands.
All the time, y'all.
But that's the thing, is because what makes me laugh is the not knowing what's happening on the other side. So I say that, and I go right into the bathroom, and then I'll giggle to myself, being like, I don't fucking know what he, like, you know, I hear you laugh or whatever, and like, what the fuck did you just say? But like, I live in that. Andy Kaufman would do that same thing. Like he has a whole, one of his most famous routines, as I'll call it, was he goes out on stage and he pretends to be this man from Lithuania. And so he goes out, he stands on stage, and he just stands there, and he just stands so long. Like people like, what's happening? And then they kind of get it, like, oh, okay. And they kind of giggle and laugh, and they applaud a little bit. But then he still stands there. And so he goes beyond the punchline, just makes it now awkward. Then he changes it, goes out and gets this record player, puts on this song, and it's the Mighty Mouse song where here he comes to save the day. That's the only thing he does. He lets the whole song play, and he stands on stage like a fucking weirdo. But then that part where he goes, here he comes to save the day, and that's it. And now people are getting it. And at the very end, you know, the song's done, goes over, kind of ends the song, goes back, awkwardly stands at the microphone, and he goes, thank you very much. And that's it. That was his whole thing. It was awkward. It was weird. It was, I don't care what's going on in your head, but now that this is all done, like, what are you thinking beyond I'm insane? So that's one of my favorite comedians, for lack of a better term. Jim Carrey embodied that, did all that kind of shit on stage on the movie, and then the documentary is like, dude, when I tell you, Andy Kaufman's family came and visited, like, on set, and like the mom is like crying. It was like, I missed you so much, blah blah blah, and it's Jim Carrey hugging this dude's mom, being like, don't cry, mom, it's okay. I'm like,
wow,
what the fuck?
He's in it.
But I don't know if he's always been like that. Like, you know, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, like, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen him snap in and out, you know?
But when I see roles like Dumb and Dumber, I think that's Jim Carrey just being Jim Carrey.
I mean, that, of course, 1,000%.
Ace Ventura, that's Jim Carrey being
Jim Carrey being slapstick over the fucking top cartoon in human form, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, that obviously gets to be the raw, very him version of those things, and maybe that's why it wasn't nearly as, you know, method as, say, Man on the Moon.
Yeah, because it was completely different.
But even the Grinch, I don't think he, like, you know, he lived in that makeup and had to for the longest time.
But he still was him, though.
But he was still him, you know.
Still him.
Highly recommended, though. If you get the chance, watch Man on the Moon, then watch that documentary, and it's fucking wild. But anyway, so you were mentioning Heath Ledger, watching Dark Knight, and the method acting, and so between Meisner and method acting,
there's I just know that with method, they live in, if they live in whatever. For instance, if you are a drug addict, method acting, you will live. I can't even talk.
You live as a druggie.
You will live as that druggie, right? However they.
I mean, Heath Ledger very famously, you know, before he passed away after Batman, it's a known story. He was in a hotel room writing shit on the walls and ripping and destroying shit because he lived like that psychopath.
He was living like that. And
no more method actors for jokers. No more method acting.
It's like I don't And people can whatever people feel to do. I think just a difficult thing for people to snap out of that. If you cannot,
Right.
can be dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but like I said,
Pretending to be anything you're not
I'm
can be
not.
dangerous.
I'm not downplaying no one's method or anything like that. People can do what they want. That's just my perception of method.
Right.
It would be difficult just to get out of.
Of course.
But yeah, it's the complete opposite. Don't Meisner.
Meisner, you're yourself and you're just reacting
You
as
you
a
create
human.
you create your imaginary circumstances based on whatever you want to create, but it's true to who you are and your circumstances and who it is in your life. Everything is real. But you just create like the imaginary circumstances in that moment. For instance, me, I can say that I'm. Let's say that I had to walk into, I don't know why I'm trying to create like this perfect scenario. For instance, right? Substitute. Let's say that I haven't seen my dad in 10 years.
Mhm.
All of a sudden came to me and said, "Hey Ruben, your dad's here." And my dad comes out and you say, "Okay, Ruben, your dad is here. Tell him, have a conversation with your dad." Or
Mhm.
whatever. Does that make sense? Like that would be me. Or you can pull out a chair. What they did for us for one of the things, one of the Meisner exercises is they pulled out a chair and they said that they created a circumstance which was if there was somebody dead or alive that we can talk to, who would it be? Man, woman, boy, girl, it don't matter. Who would it be? Right? But it's today. Who would you talk to? And I remember I had to be the first one to go, all because of how I said something in class, and the teacher just wouldn't let it go. It was good the way that I said it. Um, and he was like, "Okay, I need you to pick somebody in class who one not resembles, but someone who like an idea of your father,
Mhm.
basically." And I picked one of the guys. He's a young militant guy that had intense eyes that reminded me of my dad. So I sat him down in the chair and I substituted him as if I was talking to my dad. That makes sense.
No, for
So it
sure.
was realistic, me living
It was
truthfully
you living through those real
emotions
emotions through another person.
through another person, right? And that's what that's the honesty, that's the authenticity of just being in the moment.
So from what it sounds like, because I did work on a movie, 2000 and some change. It's called Devil's Revenge. It's with William Shatner, Jerry Ryan, Jason Brooks, Sierra Hanna, and Rob Scott Wilson.
Okay.
And it's a little, horror movie. But I remember there was a scene where Jerry Ryan, absolute sweetheart, love her to death. She can cry on cue, and then after a couple of times she's like, hey, like, you guys either got to get the shot or not, but like, I'm gonna dry out. But it, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like the Meisner method is the way to do that. Like, that's how you pull, that's how, when you hear actors like, I live in those emotions to pull those feelings and whatnot, like, you're saying talking to your dad, I don't know whether it was anger, rage, or sadness or whatever, but it, from the Meisner method, would it be safe to say that that's how you pull those sad feelings and like cry, or are there other
But we
methods
don't.
that
We
help with that
They
kind of
don't want
stuff?
us to live in the past. They will always want. They want everything to be right now or the future.
Correct.
Right. So if I was to sit here and cry, I would think about something about I would create this imaginary circumstance or situation where my family, I just got a phone call right now and XYZ, somebody's in the hospital and they don't look like they're gonna make it.
It's okay. So it's the fake thought of
It's the imaginary thought.
imagine. Okay, all right. I can, but it's still tied to something very real,
to you,
right?
and it's honest.
All right.
That's what they're getting out of us, and they're the way that they working us is they want it to, whereas like when we be on set, and things change on set all the time, right?
Bro, I'm the one who has to tell people. Fuck
Right.
me.
So let's say a director came and you bring an actor on set, and all of a sudden something they told the director, say, okay, well, we doing this scene right now instead of doing it an hour from now because XYZ. So now they're training us to, whereas we can go there within 20 seconds. Whatever emotion that we need to propel us in that scene, we can go there within 20 seconds. They're trying to get us there.
Huh.
Which 20 seconds is roughly about how much time it takes once the director's explained to you, like, hey, man, this is what I need. And then they go, great, let's get it. Director walks back to his chair. You've got camera guys getting ready, memory, whatever. They go,
you got all that
clap,
time.
and action. So you literally, that's what the 20 that makes sense. Why they would want you to get there in 20 seconds, if not faster.
Yeah. So they working us to get to that point in that time.
Yeah, man. Fucking respect for actors. I mean, I could never. Even hosting like this and doing my own like video games and whatever else.
But this is
like,
real, James. This isn't acting.
It
and,
is,
and
but
Meisner
like,
isn't acting either. It's just something that's real.
But it's also just like the presentation, right? Like as real as it is, it's like there's still a sense of like being engaged and wanting to, know and all that. And like it's not an act by any means, but you obviously have to think about presenting it. You want to word your questions and whatever in a full form. You want to complete full thoughts, and so it's like I'm doing such minimal. I wouldn't even call this acting.
No,
but it's like to then create a whole fake character, a person that doesn't exist, and tap into emotions and create this whole thing. Like, god damn. I mean, I can see why it would be so taxing. I bet that there's actors who have just lost pieces of themselves because they've played certain character traits in different movies and whatnot, and fuck, man, it's a whole world that I don't, I like to try things. I like to try new things, different ventures, different avenues and whatnot, but it's like that's one thing that I'm just like, I'm fine. I can absolutely not touch that and know that I'm not missing on anything.
Yeah. No, man, I get it.
Try enough as it is, man. I don't need to.
James don't want to be in tune or in touch with his emotions. He don't want to be vulnerable.
Oh, I'm in touch with my emotions. I know that. I know there's certain like habits I get into when I go, oh, I'm gonna go turn on a hot shower and sit here and cry for a minute. I'm in touch with my emotions.
This guy.
I'm in touch with my emotions. Well, let's. I mean, we'll wrap it up, man.
Okay.
What do you got going on? What's coming down the pipeline? What's new?
Okay, so right now I did this short film with 3 other young men, and it's about 4 black men telling their story on how telling a story based on how they encountered racism from a cop.
Okay.
And it's a short film, and we've been winning some awards in the film festivals. And I think that's what you saw when
you'd posted on Instagram.
I posted it on Instagram, and it was one of those surreal moments because I'm not above anybody, right? And I never saw myself in that light when it came down to they had a screening for it, and when I went, they had a Q&A. And it was asking everybody if they had any actors, any writers, producers, directors in the audience, of the films that just were showed. And I remember me raising my hand, and it was like, oh, and I was the only one there representing from the film. And I remember they was asking me questions and all the attention being on me, and I was like, oh my God, like all of this stuff. But afterwards, not afterwards, but they were all the praise, admiration for the work, for the art, just meet in general, people just coming up to me, praising me, asking me for my autograph. I'm like, what?
Is that the first time that that people have asked for your autograph, or?
Yeah, it just felt surreal. It's like, what? Like, I don't, because I don't see myself in that, right? In that sense, to be this star, right? I'm just another human being. I just act, right? I love to act. I got into acting because I wanted to express myself, because I couldn't express myself the way that I wanted to growing up, because being men, you already know the circumstances, or not even the circumstances, but the different things that they put on us, that we can't do.
Right.
Men not supposed to cry. Men not supposed to do this. Men
The
not
things we're
supposed.
trying to change in today's world.
So I got into acting because I wanted to use acting as an outlet to express myself. That's why I got into it. But just to see people praise and everything like that, man, I was shook. I couldn't believe it. I was shook. But that's one of the things that I'm working on. But I'm an artist, bro. Like, I just been on this journey. I discovered many things about myself, being a director, being a writer, being a poet, just so many things, like picking up a camera, doing photography, shooting your own videos and stuff like that. Filming. I just finished a pilot that's supposed to be pitched. I shot the pilot. I was actually brought on as one of the creators because the other two creators didn't know anything about structure. And I was like, well, I know about structure. I know, it's supposed to be in this format. And I was like presenting ideas to them. It was like, why don't we add you as a third creator? Don't miss me with a good time.
Right, yeah.
Please don't.
You okay if we, say you're more important? Like,
I'm like,
don't.
yeah, go ahead. I don't care. Well, I do care.
Right.
But I was brought on project, and it's finished. And the next thing is for it to be pitched. I actually filmed a short film that I got to get back to. I'm waiting on the song so I can finish editing, and that's supposed to be submitted to film festivals. So it's like, these are the things that I'm working on, and of course, me acting. I'm working on my craft, and I'm not putting myself out there as of yet, but in the next month or two, I'll be putting myself out there and to go back auditioning and stuff like that, and hit the ground running, because this stuff is fun, man. Class is fun. Acting, I don't even consider it acting. I just consider it being me, right? And it's fun, man. Like, this is why I came here.
Man, that's a fucking great, great part to end the show on, because you're talking about it's just fun to you, and I'm gonna be honest. I've been kind of holding on to saying this. There's been so many times where we've just caught each other in the living room, sit around, talk. We've come out here, had a couple of drinks, all that stuff. And there was a day where I was absolutely stoned off my ass, and we were just talking. I wanted to know more and all that stuff. And that's what lit the fire under my ass to go, dude, I listened to him. I should just start making podcasts. I already did it once before, and it did fairly well, but it, faded out, and it was just audio. And I was like, dude, I work in production. I can figure out cameras. I can figure out all this other stuff. And so when I decided to create the studio and podcast, I knew from day one I was going to have to sit down and talk with you. And fuck me if I don't have so many more questions.
I'm pretty sure, because it's like we didn't even scratch the surface on a lot of things, like just to talk about. And I feel like I wanted to tell you so many times, like, James, why do we have to talk about acting? Let's talk about something else.
I mean, dude,
But I know
when I tell you I have the best time talking to you, whether it's on camera or off, I truly mean it. That conversation we had that one night, sparked me wanting to do this. And I knew I had to have you on. I have so many more things to talk about. And, the acting was just the surface thing. It's one of the most recent things that have come up. And so, want to talk about it. Obviously, it gives people an opportunity to get to know you as well.
Yeah.
I know you a little bit deeper now as well. And fuck, man, I would love nothing more than to have you on the show again.
I would glad to be back. Man.
And yeah, man, it'd be fucking great. So
you.
thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for making the time. I know
Of
you've
course.
got, again, so many million of other things you're working on. You got to get back to. And hopefully next time we do this, Rick will be able to join us. I don't
Okay.
typically host the show. Rick is usually here,
Okay.
or is supposed to be here. But yeah, man, I would love to talk with you more, and I know Rick would too. So
Okay.
thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't give your applause at home, make sure you do for Rubin Mills. Check out Family Time. See where you can find it. Check out his Instagram and stay up to date with Rubin. I'm sure.
I know it sounds cheesy. Google me. That sounds so cheesy.
Oh, I'll Google you as soon as this.
Oh
as soon
my
as this
God.
podcast is over. I'm
There
gonna
he
Google
goes.
you
There
so good.
he go.
Ruben, it was a pleasure. Thank you, and I hope we get to.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
And that's the episode, man.
And that's the wrap.
That's it. That's how easy it is. But seriously, man, thank you. Thanks for.
Of course, man. I was over here shaking. I said,
Oh,
"Hold it
dude.
together."
I know.
Every time I stopped talking, I was like, damn, my body's like, Ruben, stop. Just keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. But as soon as I
The
stop, fucking just.
First podcast with Ruben, he went into shock.